Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's training session. I'm Chris Cook, Digital Marketing Director for JacksFax Travel Marketing. Today I'm joined by Marco Frank of Visit Flanders. Marco is joining us today to discuss Flanders, Belgium, the heart of Europe. As a reminder, there will be time for Q&A after Marco's presentation, so please send over any questions you may have in the provided area. And now, let me turn the presentation over to Marco.
Chris, thank you so much for the introduction.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to having you today on this webinar to discuss Flanders, the heart of Europe. Let's just dive right into the overview here. We'll start with an overview of Flanders. Where exactly is it geographically? And then we'll dive into our four main travel themes, talk about one quote-unquote temporary theme that just kind of like wrapped up at the end of last year, and then do a summary at the end. And before we do that, also talk why Flanders is a place to come and visit in general. And then hopefully you can already see this beautiful market square here in the background. And without really like preempting the whole presentation, that is truly one of the reasons why people do travel to a destination, because of all great medieval cities that you find literally in the heart of Europe. So let's just get started, as said, with the overview of the destination. So where exactly is Flanders? What is it? It's very simple. It is the northern region of Belgium. So simplistically speaking, you can consider it a state. It's basically one out of two states within the country of Belgium. So just like the United States is a big country, has 50 states. Belgium is a small country, only has 2 states. So it's the northern Dutch-speaking part. And it is home to 6 major cities. In the center is Brussels, symbolized by the atomium. We'll get to talk about a little bit later what that is. In the north, you got the seaport city of Antwerp. Then as you move over to the coast, you got Bruges, very close to the coast. And then in between Bruges and Brussels, you got the beautiful, authentic city of Ghent. And then around Brussels are 2 smaller cities, Leuven and Mechelen. Mechelen is just to the north. It's actually very, very close to Brussels airport, maybe only just 10 minutes away. And then to the east, you got the university city of Leuven. As you can see, we are literally like in the heart of Europe. Paris, London, Amsterdam, Cologne, Germany. All those cities are less than 2 hours away. By train. Paris, take it, is actually the closest in terms of travel time. It's only 1 hour, 22 minutes away. Both London and Amsterdam approximately 1 hour 50, and then Cologne about 1 hour 40. So it makes our destination perfect for pan-European vacation. If you have a client that wants to go to Paris, let's say 5 days, by all means, let them go to Paris, explore Paris, and then they want to go 3 days somewhere else. And then hopefully it's a big opportunity then to add Belgium and Flanders to the destination. The same for London. Or if you have a client that's on a river cruise out of Amsterdam, there's a lot of river cruises out of Amsterdam, 1.3 million river cruises every year. And if they want to do a pre or post stay in the European destination, why not do it in our destination, in Antwerp, in Bruges, in Ghent, in Brussels, and then you go on to your river cruise out of Amsterdam. So what are the core travel highlights? What's there to be seen in the destination? We're calling it our travel themes. So basically, on a high level, there's fantastic gastronomy, amazing art and heritage, very much a cycling culture, a lot of design, fashion, and a whole lot more. So we'll just dive into the details. Let's get started with the gastronomy. Hopefully everybody knows that Flanders, as I said, is at the crossroad of Europe, so it combines a lot of different influences from the kitchen, the cooking around Europe and the world. French cuisine has an influence, German-style cooking, so everything comes together in the kitchen and the cooking of Flanders. And of course, one of the core highlights, as you can see here, a picture of the beer brewing process as hops get added. Belgian beers also stand out as one of the culinary highlights. By now we have about 1,700 different beers. And believe it or not, the Belgian beer culture is a UNESCO World Heritage. So cheers to beers. And of course, not only beers are great in Belgium, but also great Belgian chocolates. And what really stands out are the artisanal chocolate makers, so the small mom and pop stores that really make everything by hand, not just the big chocolate factories, which of course do exist as well, but the small scale artisanal chocolate makers. These are really like the amazing ones. Here you got a picture of a chocolate maker in Antwerp. He's one of my favorite ones. But when you think of food, there's not just I said like the chocolates, but also the world famous Belgian waffles, then the fries, also another culinary delight, and typically eaten always with mayonnaise, not with ketchup. Mussels, another great typical Flemish Belgian dish. And then let's move on and talk about the high-end fine dining experiences. When you think about the ultimate fine dining guidebook resource in the world, what comes to mind is typically Michelin, the Michelin Restaurant Guide. And in the Benelux edition, because there's a separate book guide published for the Benelux, Belgium has 132 restaurants listed. So we have 1 star, 2 stars, and 3 Michelin star rated restaurants. So it is a culinary delight to travel to a destination. You can eat really well, and it does not cost you a fortune. The food, even in a Michelin star restaurant, is quite affordable, especially when compared to Paris, London, and other high-end fine dining destination experiences. I would say on average about a third or half price of what you pay in those other cities. What other highlights do we have? What stands out is the art and heritage, where the history of the past is still very much omnipresent. What you can see here is the Grand Place in Brussels, which is a UNESCO World Heritage. It's actually a photo taken at the time of the Brussels flower carpet, which happens every 2 years in August. The next one will be in 2020. And it is a magnificent square. I was just there last week, and all the fan participants that were there were just amazed how wonderful, how beautiful that square is. But also people travel to Bruges to step back in time, to see the UNESCO World Heritage City, to see the canals, the boat rides, to climb up the belfry, which is the tower that you see there in the background. I actually climbed up there last week. We actually took bets how long it would take. Some people said 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Longest one was 40 minutes. I actually managed to get up there in under 5 minutes. So it is doable, and you have a fantastic view from the top of the tower. You can see all the way to the coastline. So that, again, that is one of the reasons why people want to see the old plazas, squares, castles, cathedrals, the medieval cities. Or people might also want to see some of the old artwork. There's a lot of the Flemish masters. These are the painters from 400 or 500 years ago. Still very much present in museums, city halls, cathedrals. Here's the Ghent altarpiece, Jan van Eyck, which was featured in a 2014 Hollywood movie, The Monuments Man. You might have seen it, World War II, the Nazis, all those evil guys take all the Flemish artwork and trying to destroy it at the end of World War II, and the American GIs got to move in and rescue the artwork. Matt Damon, George Clooney, all those guys were in the movie, and they actually brought it back, and it's now visible again in the Ghent Cathedral. People might want to travel to Antwerp to see Peter Paul Rubens in this atelier, where he created a lot of his artwork and is still visible. the house where he lived in. But if you think it's only just about old art and there's nothing modern there, you're wrong. There's also modern architecture, modern art, and it makes a very eclectic mix of the old and the new. What you here have on the slate is the Port Authority in the Port of Antwerp. Also a very modern building. Now let's move on and talk about cycling and a destination. Cycling is really deeply embedded within the soul of Flanders. The beautiful thing is cycling follows skill and interest levels. So let's just take one extreme, the hardcore cycling enthusiasts. So these are the people that own $10,000 custom-built carbon fiber bike. They can ship it over, they can hire a van company that hauls the luggage, they can cycle around a destination and knock themselves out and have the time of their life. Or it's also great spectator sport. A lot of races going on. Tour de Flanders, toughest single one-day bike race in the world that's happening again next month. But also the leisurely bike ride along the canals. It's flat, it's easy. Just cycle out to the windmills, to a picnic out there, rent a bike for 2-3 hours, breathe in the fresh air, pack up the kids and the family, and you just have a great time because you're in a dedicated cycling road network that is just built for cyclists. It's all posted, easy to navigate, and the whole network is about 7,500 miles long. So no shortage of very good cycling across the destination. Then let's talk about design and fashion in Belgium, and specifically in Flanders, because Antwerp is home to the third best fashion academy in the world. Of course, it started out a long time ago in the Middle Ages with, lace making, cloth making, the importation of British wool into the cities. So there's a long tradition of making fabrics, clothing. But now the Fashion Academy has taken it to new levels in Antwerp. There's a lot of boutique stores where you can go fashion shopping, so you find a lot of the international brands there, but also all the local Belgian brands. So it is a shopper's paradise. So make sure you take a good credit card with a high spending limit and just shop until you drop. You can go shopping for anything your heart desires: gloves, shoes, hats, dresses, skirts, ties for guys. Sometimes we have fashion needs too. Even custom-made, tailor-made clothing. And then last but not least, let's not forget about the diamonds. Antwerp is the diamond capital in the world. Why is it the diamond capital of the world? Two reasons. Number one, the diamond trading. So a lot of the trading goes on in Antwerp, but also the diamond cutting. Depending on what type of diamonds you're talking about, Antwerp has a world market share of about 70 to 80% of all diamond cutting in the world. So you can, of course, buy diamonds, but you can also experience behind-the-scenes walks and diamond cutting experiences. You can go to certification bureaus that will explain you everything, how the different stones are graded, how the raw diamond is transferred into a cut diamond. And then a temporary theme that I was talking about is Flanders Fields. We had a 4-year anniversary commemoration going on, 2014 to 2018, to commemorate World War I that happened exactly 100 years earlier. So there was a big campaign going on last year that just wrapped up, and there's a lot of the battle sites that can still be seen. But I'm still talking about it, so to speak, in 19, because what I found is, just talking to a lot of travel agents and tour operators, there's a continued interest in the World War I battle sites, specifically with the 75-year anniversary of World War II, Normandy landing beaches coming up, Battle of the Bulge, and then next year Victory Day. A lot of people want to combine those sites in West Flanders and Flanders Fields with experiences of World War II battle sites. So it is a good combination to really transcend and experience the most recent 20th century history in the European area, and go from World War I to a peace period, and then World War II, and even maybe work in the European Union in a trip of Europe today. So why is Flanders in the heart of Europe a top destination this year? Let's just quickly go over a couple of reasons. Number one is I had already talked about the food. The beer is very big, and of course the big beer festivals. The Belgian Beer Weekend, which happens the first weekend in September, on the Grand Place in Brussels. You can see an array of different tents that are set up, and then people can just buy tokens and exchange those tokens for different sample glasses of beers. It's very social, nice event. I've been there 2 or 3 times by now, and just listening into the people that go to the event, I would say at least 50% of the participants are Americans. Very, very popular. You can just like walk around, enjoy a beer, sample different ones, and have a really, really great time. As you can see here, the people just enjoy, sit back, relax, or just stand there and enjoy the different Belgian brews. Belgian food is always a highlight, be it basic, quote-unquote, basic food. One of the staples is the beef stew, which you find here. Excellent food, often made with beer. But also, I said, like the high-end fine dining experiences where you can really have an affordable meal in a Michelin star rated restaurant. I just give you one example. On a fam trip last year, I took the group to a Michelin star rated restaurant in Bruges. It was a 1-star rated restaurant. We had officially 3 courses, so appetizer, main, dessert, but practically there's always more courses in between. The pre-appetizer, before the appetizer, in between courses. And then the participants had to guess how much the meal was per person. And they guessed on average $150, $180 easily, no doubt about that. And I had to break it to them that unfortunately it was not $180, that it was only $70 per person. And that is really like an incredible price quality correlation that you really don't find anywhere else. Another reason why it's a top destination is because, again, last year and also reaching into this year, we celebrated Baroque Antwerp. So Antwerp, the home city of Peter Paul Rubens, is really, although it's a modern city, still very much also a Baroque city where you find a lot of Baroque buildings, Baroque churches, Baroque experiences. It's like the atelier here of Peter Paul Rubens. A lot of his artwork still very much present in the city. So that is definitely one of the reasons why you want to go to the destination Antwerp and experience the Flemish master, Peter Paul Rubens. Another reason why you might want to go, and again, it's a little bit of an unusual number, 61 years. Well, last year was the 60th anniversary of the Atomium. So the Atomium is an iconic architectural highlight in Brussels, and it was built for the 1958 World's Fair, and it represents an iron molecule magnified 160 million times. So if you've had sleepless nights and wondered, my God, what does an iron molecule look like? That's what it looks like. There's a museum in there at the bottom. You can learn all about the World's Fair, all the time in the 50s, what it was like, the resurgence of Europe, the rebuilding of Europe after World War II. Everything was possible. Nothing seemed impossible. And it was really like this futuristic approach and this optimism that lay ahead. And on top of that, you also have a restaurant where you can enjoy a great meal and a great view of Brussels at the same time. Another reason why we're a top destination is this year the Tour de France is actually coming back to Brussels. The first 2 stages in July will be held in and around Brussels. And why do they come to Belgium this year? Well, it will be the 60th anniversary of the first Tour de France win of Eddy Merckx. Eddy Merckx, iconic Belgian cyclist that won the Tour de France numerous times in the 60s and 70s. 1969 was actually the first year that he won it. And to commemorate his first Tour de France win, the tour will come back to Brussels and then have the first two stages right there. Another reason why it's a great destination this year is because cycling can always be combined with other activities. As I said, cycling is great for all skill and interest levels, and if you're more on a leisurely side, you can just do a leisurely city architecture tour on a bicycle. Stop at various landmarks, architectural highlights, just look at all the different buildings, then go back on the bike a little bit more, stop at the next place, and then again enjoy the architecture. And it's something that's for everyone. That's a very, very big focus for our destination, to make the destination accessible for everyone, meaning even if you might have a handicap, that we have resources available so that you can experience the destination. That's one of the flagship projects of the Flemish government that really puts a lot of emphasis on vacation for everyone. Diva is another interesting experience in Antwerp. What is Diva? Diva is the new diamond and silver museum in Antwerp. As Antwerp is the capital of diamonds, of course, there needs to be a museum that talks about the different diamonds, the different experiences, and you can really deep dive in all different diamond experiences, and also learn how silver and gold actually are combined in the diamond industry to make outstanding, fascinating jewelry. And if you do have some time, you can also actually do a hands-on workshop there at the museum and create your own jewelry. Last but not least, about Antwerp. I know there's a lot of Antwerp in this presentation, but it is a great city. Let's talk about Antwerp fashion. As I said, third best fashion academy out there in the world. A lot of boutique stores, and very affordable boutique stores, especially when you compare that to London and Paris. You find cutting edge haute couture there. Again, it's something that you don't want to miss. There's also the fashion museum, the Mode Museum, which unfortunately the actual building right now is closed for renovation, but the fashion museum is still active at different other venues throughout the city. So they just put some of the exhibits in other buildings, some of the events are in other buildings. So although the actual building is undergoing renovation right now, the fashion museum is still active. And then the last highlight I wanted to talk about, I said, is the World War I commemorations that haven't really stopped. Here what you can see the Menin Gate in Ypres, where the last post is blown by the fire department of Ypres, and it happens every night at 8 p.m. and has been going on over 30,000 times. And of course, you can also then go out to the battlefields, cemeteries. There's an American cemetery out there, and you can, again, really relive the time what it was like to fight in World War I. And then it's from there, explore maybe Normandy, Battle of the Bulge in the southern part of Belgium, and then maybe come back to Brussels to see how Europe has come together after World War II. Or also see the site where John McCrae wrote his poem, In Flanders Fields. So let's just try to sum it up a little bit. Why are we a place to come in general? Well, we are very much part of the European experience. The topic of this webinar is the heart of Europe, and as I tried to show you at the beginning of the presentation, we're literally geographically in the center of Europe. We're so close to everything else, and it's really easy to combine Flanders with other cities like the Londons, the Paris, the Amsterdams, the Colognes, the Germany. We offer the small town feel, despite the fact that even Brussels, for us, it's a relatively big city. But in comparison to New York, to Los Angeles, to Houston, Brussels is still small. So that's really much thought after experiences that people want to experience that small town feel, not be in this gigantic big city, because people want to have those authentic experiences, the same experiences the local have. They go to the same bar, the same restaurant, the same theater, the same venue that the locals go to. It's not an artificial Disneyland experience just for tourists and you're then detached from the locals. We offer short travel distances, which is great because you can pick your hotel wherever you want your hotel to be. You want to stay in Brussels and then venture out from there, by all means do that. Or you want to stay in Ghent and then make Ghent your home base, you can do that. Or Antwerp, or Mechelen, or Bruges. All of Flanders is just the size of Connecticut, so you can see it's very, very small and easy to travel around. Because we have excellent infrastructure, great road network, great train network, train runs frequently. In terms of frequency, it's almost like riding the New York City subway. You just miss a train, well, just wait 10 minutes, there's another train. We still have a very excellent, incredible euro-US dollar exchange rate. So you get a tremendous price-quality correlation here. Things don't cost a lot. Hotels are quite affordable, meals are quite affordable, transportation is quite affordable. Your guests will be amazed how much further the dollar goes in a destination. And of course, English is widely spoken. Everybody speaks English, so no need to buy Rosetta Stone and polish up on your Dutch. You're actually good with English. So let me just quickly summarize the whole destination experiences with one word, or two words actually, called the Flemish Masters. So traditionally it refers to the painters and the artists that created all those great artworks in the Middle Ages and the Baroque, like Jan van Eyck and Peter Paul Rubens. But we've taken the concept a little bit further and have this big campaign that we're running right now, where we're also mixing in the modern Flemish Masters. And by modern masters, we mean the Michelin star chefs, the excellent Belgian beer brewers that keep winning all those gold medals, or the fantastic chocolatiers. And then last but not least, also the award-winning fashion designers. So that is really what we mean by Flemish Masters, because you might come across some communication ads or initiatives where we talk about Flemish Masters. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands what we mean by Flemish Masters. So with that being said, Flanders, in summary, is state-of-the-art gastronomy, art, heritage, cycling, fashion. What are you waiting for? See you in Flanders, and I'm your trade contact, Marco Frank, trade manager for Visit Flanders, and you can reach me at, and I'm sorry if the email is a little bit cut off, at marco.frank@visitflanders.com. Thank you very much for listening to this webinar.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marco, for that informative presentation. As always, this training session is being recorded and will be available within the next several days at jaxfax.com under the Agent Training menu tab. Now, let's see what we have for questions. First question is, Marco, where would you recommend traveling into and out of in Flanders?
Okay, it depends where you're coming from. So if you're traveling from North America, the only international airport that's feasible is Brussels Airport. You have various connections that come in from North America, primarily like the East Coast, New York, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Miami, Toronto, Chicago. Unfortunately, no connection yet from the West Coast. If you are already in Europe, then it doesn't matter. I mean, Brussels probably will be, again, your main arrival point, coming in from Paris, coming in from London, coming in from Amsterdam. But other cities do have an airport as well. For example, like Antwerp does have an airport, so there are some flights that go in from other European cities into Antwerp. But as I said, for most people, most likely it will be Brussels as the main arrival gateway into the destination.
Great. Looks like we have another one here. For those wanting to add Flanders to a travel itinerary, how many days minimum would you recommend for a good exposure to Flanders?
Minimum, I would recommend 3 days. I mean, of course, it depends very much on your client. If they're like fast-paced, if they're slower-paced, how much time does the client need? if quote unquote worst comes to worst, you know, one day is better than no day at all, but to have a good experience and to do it at a reasonable pace, I would definitely recommend minimum 3 days.
Great. That looks like that wraps it up for questions. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you again, Marco, for that great presentation. As a reminder, please watch for invitations for additional training sessions coming up soon. And everyone enjoy your day, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.